The coronavirus is rapidly spreading across continents, raising fears it could become a pandemic.
250 more deaths have been recorded.
Worldwide pandemic.
Coronavirus.
Brazil closed its borders. Pandemia de COVID.
Du coronavirus.
6.6 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week.
Increased number of coronavirus cases. Some area schools and even universities are closed.
I graduated last year. In my current occupation, I worked in a startup in Miami, but I had to leave this work to stay with my family in Brazil during this pandemic.
We were given a short notice basically to leave campus because of the coronavirus, but we were not able to return back home because our borders were closed before we were told to leave. So we had to find other alternatives. And right now we're still staying in the US.
I didn't have to go back, but it was recommended that that students would go back home. But I had a weird situation because my grandmother lived with me at home, and she just finished. She had just gone through a major heart surgery, I believe. She had a hard time breathing, so it was kind of hard for me to go back home.
I had places that I could stay, but the best option for me was to come home.
I didn't go home. I didn't go back to my country. My parents have a house in Boston, so I came to Boston.
I stayed back here in the US. I don't think it's safe to travel right now.
I really didn't think that this is something that could affect more countries. I just couldn't think of how it would spread to the rest of the world and so quickly.
I was concerned, definitely, but I never thought that it would get to the point that it has, and it's going to, So it's definitely worse than I was expecting.
I did not think it would get this bad. When it got, worse and worse, and then we probably like, okay, college is probably gonna close, and a lot of things are gonna be different for a while.
I feel like my mind couldn't comprehend like a pandemic because I've never been through a pandemic, so it's like, oh, it's just gonna be like the apocalypse movies that you see. If you haven't been through it, like, you don't know what to expect. I would probably spend more time with my friends, start packing earlier.
Buy some hand sanitizer.
And tell myself to just drop everything and go home and, just spend some time with family. There's no place like home.
I would definitely be more careful. People would say, don't go to the gym or don't go to as many restaurants, like stay home. I didn't prioritize, which I think I did wrong.
I would have definitely told myself to sit down and see how much this would actually affect everything, including graduation and not being able to go back home, not being able to say bye to friends that we might not see until God knows when. I definitely got deprived of just enjoying the last semester that we're going to get to spend in college with our friends and with our professors, and just properly saying goodbye to a place that we've called home for 4 years. I feel like this is something that we always look forward to. I think every college senior feels like it's really something close to our hearts, and not being able to do it the traditional way, I feel like that was taken away from us.
I have lost senior formal, mono freak, senior week, graduation, graduation trip with my friends.
I mean, like my senior year, the end of my senior year at least, like all the stuff that comes with that, like not knowing what's happening with graduation.
I'm not happy that my college years will end like this, but I tell myself that the relationships that I made and that are true are gonna extend beyond college.
Before this, like, I used to complain about like the smallest things, or like think that tiny problems were like the end of the world, but now I guess just gain more perspective on like what matters.
Spend time with family. I hadn't seen my parents for more than a year, so that was also really, really nice to just spend time with them, and just to see Brazil. I thought like I would only see Brazil like next year, so and then this gave me the chance to go back to where I'm from.
Definitely perspective on like what's really like necessary and important in my life during, because when when I had to move out of college, it was like almost like packing out, and just a lot of unnecessary things got thrown out, all that. So perspective.
I think that it'll definitely impact the way our generation is gonna think and prepare for anything that's about to come. I'd like to believe that on a positive note, we'll be more considerate of potential harm that might come in the future.
I mean, I hope that it's a long-lasting positive change. Like, people hopefully will be like less greedy. A lot of things that we haven't done that people say like, oh, it just wouldn't work, like we can't do it. Even stuff with like the environment and climate change, like people say like, oh no, we can't, like the economy, blah blah blah. But now, like, we've shown you can do that, like when you have to, you know.
I feel like our generation can take away from this is just not taking everything for granted. I feel like being forced to confine ourselves and social distance, we're realizing just how important and how meaningful little things that we took for granted, like being able to go outside and walk,